I'm very excited today to have here for a conversation about the Xlakes, Paul Rowntree, who won the one-day competition last year in 2024. I'm excited about this for two reasons. The first reason is that this is the race, the one-day Xlakes race. This is the race that I want to compete in and take part in. It's more my speed. It's one day of flying in the mountains rather than 2 days and so on. And so I'm really interested to hear Paul's thoughts on his decision making and how he prepared for the race and what he did on the day. And the second reason I'm excited is that Paul won this race on an ENA paraglider, the safest category of paragliders that there is, which is cool. I think that's really cool because this shows to me that this is a race that can be won with skill and good decision making, rather than just having to have the hottest, fastest glider out there, which is definitely more my speed. If you can win on an ENA glider, that is good news, I think. And so I'm excited to hear. So thank you, Paul, for coming to talk to us about it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problems. I think there's a lot of luck in there as well. It's a tiny bit of skill.
Well, you're very modest. You're very modest. Okay, so a few questions just to help us set the scene, if that's okay, and then we'll dive into the track log. The first question is, what's your experience like on a paraglider? How many years do you have?
So I started flying about 20 years ago, but I've not done a lot of flying compared to most people in that period. I've done less than 100 hours. As with a young family, I hardly did any for those years, but as they are now older, I've been able to get out a lot more in the last couple of years, and then entered the hike and fly scene with much enthusiasm. It's great to be able to take off, land, take off again, and just carry on your day's not over, and
yes,
tour around the countryside.
And what's your home paragliding club? Where are you based flying normally?
Dales is my home club, so I get up there when I can, and yeah, venture over to the lakes every now and then, if the weather's better over your way.
Yes, which it very rarely is, I'm afraid to say. And just set the scene for us for this day. So this is in June in 2024, and you're in the one-day competition here, so an 8-hour competition. What was the weather like? What was the forecast?
So we had a briefing from Westy, and it was a westerly wind, and a little bit of north in it to begin with. Good, is at the top end of the level speed, and yeah, there'd be thermals, a little bit thermic. So yeah, it was all set up to be a nice day with some good flying potential. And
you set off what time in the morning? When do you get going?
So 8 o'clock, the hooter went, and off we went out the campsite.
Cool. All right. Very good. Well, do you want to start playing, and then you can talk us through how you did?
So here we are, setting about the campsite along the road to begin with.
Okay, so you've decided not to go up the normal Olcott Tarn way. You're heading north instead.
Yeah, sort of. The tip I was given was just to don't necessarily take all the nearby turn points at the beginning. If you've got some time at the end of the day, maybe save it for them. And I also fancied this route going up, as this face coming up here is facing into the north and west. So I thought there's a chance I might be able to take off.
Okay, so this is Stone Arthur. I think you're coming up to, which is your first Wainwright pretty early in the day.
So this is looking ahead, and you can see up the Helvenin Ridge.
Yeah.
So here I've walked up, I've had a look over the top of Stone Arthur, and I fancy it. I think the wind's coming on, so I'm unpacking.
Okay, cool. And that's a kind of northwesterly face there. I think you might be on a.
It is,
And you just taken off there?
Taken off, and I'm away. Going around Fairfield.
Scratching up Fairfield. Very good. You're very much quicker in the air. It's interesting to see compared with walking. I mean, obviously compared with walking, but okay. So you've put down. You've come onto Dolly Wagon, but just not quite found lift off the face of that. Maybe in the lee of Seat Sandal.
Well, no, I wasn't, because I came around the side of Seat Sandal, and I'll just slow it down a bit, or I'll squeak all over it. And yeah, it's about as far as I expected. And then then I thought I'd come around here and get a little bit lift off this face because it's facing a little bit to the north and west, but it wasn't steep enough. So just walked up into the dip between Dolly Wagon and High Crag, which meant I was able to tag Dolly Wagon there. And then off I walked along the top.
Okay, and cloudbase at this point, presumably it's not thermic yet in the day. Is it still too early, really, for good flying conditions?
Because the odd little bit was coming through on that first little flight, not enough to thermal in, but the cloud wasn't much higher than Helvenin at this stage. It was above it, so it was perfectly fine to take off. And then it'd probably be around about here when I'm walking along that two gliders came in the opposite direction. So they, I'm guessing, were 2 days that maybe set off from Stubbs Head or somewhere up that way, and they got lift off it from as the wind turned more westerly. So I tagged Helvenin and then just walked down the side here and got ready to take off again.
So this face traditionally is part of the Milk Run cross country route. This face, that Helvellyn face, is known for working really well, especially with a west wind. And are you taking off at this point? You're just walking down to find somewhere?
So I'm just walking down here. Nice big open grassy area. Can't get too far wrong here. Just getting ready to take off.
And how did you find your pack up and unpack time on the race itself?
So I'm sort of 5 minutes each way. If I can do that, I'm really pleased. Setting up, it probably takes a little bit longer, really. And then it depends how windy it is when you're packing up. If it's howling through and you're packing up in a big wind, it can be a challenge.
So this is the kind of the reverse Milk Run, if you like. You're going north as far as the Dodds, I think. Is that the Dodds there?
Yeah, I didn't go quite as far as, so Clough is in the distance. I didn't go as far as that. I did all of them up to there, and then just flying back up towards Helvenin again, and then I didn't quite get around this bend, so I just top landed, posied up, and walked forward, ready to take off again.
Okay.
So I lost a few minutes here, but at least it didn't go all the way down. I mean, I could have gone back a bit and maybe found a bit more lift, but it turned out fine in the end.
Okay, it's quite so disciplined about keeping your height.
Yeah, but then when I took off, I mean, you can see I've just gone down, 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 down.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where's it all gone? But went down to the front of Helvenin here and found a thermal, thankfully.
Yeah.
And then,
lovely.
So getting back up to height again.
It's interesting how much. Oh, okay. So wow.
And then I'm away.
And over the back.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So if we just go back here, so this is where I planned to go over when I was walking across. I don't think it's necessarily the best place to go over if you're local. There are better places, but it just looked like a nice rounded place to come over.
Yeah, so not too much rotor.
No. And I was thinking about flying on the face of Katsukam, but I didn't fancy it when I came over. I thought, hold on, let's just get away from this, keep some height above the valley bottom.
Totally.
Take it from there. So I've landed here. Hold on, I have to spin this round.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you've gone over the back, but probably in sinking air at that point, and you've gone on to, I don't know the name of that. Pardon me. What is that? Katsukam, or is that something else?
That's behind Katsukam. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay. But so you've top landed or sort of side landed.
Sort of half, a bit of a slate landing there, yeah. And then we'll see. I'll hike up here, so let's speed it up a bit. Yeah. So that's me hiking up at speed.
Yeah.
I'm fast forward.
And that's presumably that's kind of bushwhacking. There's no path there, presumably.
There's no path there. And I thought, let's just get as high as possible. The wind was coming onto that face, so I thought, let's go for it. And then you can see I'm here for ages. It turns out I left my sunglasses when when I packed up back down the hill. So whilst I left my tracker here, I've walked back down, gone back up, and then taken off.
Okay.
So I'll slow this down.
Okay, so your figure of 8s here, just searching, seeing if there's anything firm, and then right round the side. And this is going down towards Ullswater or Brothers Water, possibly, or Ullswater?
Yeah, Ullswater, yeah. And I've just this little bits of lift, nothing enough to go around in, but it's enough to keep me up. And I'm aiming for Place Fell, which you can see straight ahead there.
Yes, yeah.
And I was fully expecting to land before Ullswater or even around the bottom of it, but I got to the bottom. And after a beat, I got a thermal.
Brilliant.
You see, here we go, starting to climb up, which is amazing.
Lovely.
I was about to just maybe hike up here, tag it, and then set off back home again. But here we are, we're flying, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a really good. That is probably the thermal that made the day. I mean, that's an incredible. And you'll have flown that so quickly versus hiking up because it's quite tall. What's that, 2,000 feet?
Remarkable. I mean, we can look at the time if you like. If you go to the bottom, the time there is 12:43.
Yeah.
And then by the time we're at the top, it's 12:51. So that's 8 minutes to the top.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And you've got really, look at this. This is lovely. Is that convergence lift, maybe a sea breeze or something? Or what's going on?
I think it is sea breeze. I mean, I was planning just flying on the ridge, but you can see I just kept going up without any
You're not even turning.
No.
Incredible.
And one of the reasons I wasn't turning is that the wind was quite strong. And I thought, if I start thermaling here, I'm going into the depths of those hills over there.
Right.
Which wasn't where I wanted to go.
There's lots of gullies and small valleys and stuff looking at that. Oh, wow, look at the lift. This is incredible.
Yes, this must have been sea breeze that I was oblivious to, if I'm being honest, at the time.
Well, if it's beeping,
enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So some turns here, and you're still climbing, I think. Is that right?
A little bit.
And it's still only, I'm just struggling to read the time there on the clock, but it's still only just past 1 o'clock. Is that right?
So just past 1. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've got 3 hours to get back from here.
Yeah. Okay, so you're tagging Wainwrights, but by flying through the cylinders above them now, right?
Yeah.
And this is the straightest part of the High Street Ridge from memory, down towards Troutbeck.
Yeah. And then this is a bit where the wind, if I just pause it here.
Oh, you're getting quite low. In front of.
Is it? I can't remember the name of this little spot here.
Coldale Moor, I think.
Yeah, and the wind was coming in from the south up here,
right,
with the sea breeze. So it had gone from west to south, and it's howling up here. And I was on full speed bar with tiptoes, just hoping I'd get over here. And,
you're very low over that col, aren't you?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot in it, and I was arguably about to turn around, and here I am just over it, and then managed to push forwards eventually away from the Venturi effect coming through, and then the wind turned a little bit more to the west as I got through it, so I was able to gain the lift from the soaring along the side here.
Okay, that's awesome. And you're scratching now for lift much lower, and this is down towards the oak.
Scratching. I gave myself plenty of distance off the side. Yeah, down towards the oak.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing I can see. Yeah, you're nearly at. You must be $2,500 there, possibly, maybe more.
Yeah.
And these are all Wainwrights. I think, from memory, for the map, I think also these are big points. These are worth 20 points each, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. 20 points to stack Eastern Range, and they're all worth getting. So I think there's 4 there after coming through that little gap, and then head off.
And then so now you're just 1:30. Is that? Oh no, you're coming up to 2 o'clock.
No, 1:30. You're right.
1:30. Sorry, forgive me. And you've started to turn.
Just coming over Troutbeck there.
Yeah, Troutbeck Tongue is another 20 points, I think.
That's right.
Okay, and this is the mountain pass. Kirkston Pass.
That's
okay, that's interesting. So you've just put down near the main road there. Have you landed? Is that correct? You've just landed?
Yeah, I've just landed there, and interestingly, two other people who are doing the same sort of route, Ollie and Lucy, they both landed in a similar spot.
Okay.
And we gave a wave to each other, and off we went back on continue our different routes back to base.
Presumably that's because you're trying to glide into a pretty strong headwind at that point, so your glide is worse. Is that right?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, and that's as far as we got. I think other pilots, some of the 2 days with better wings, got a bit further, or were able to do a bit more there. But for the wings we were on, that's where we got to.
Yes, I think Bud Patterson finished his 2-day track in a similar place, but I think further south from you. I think he went right down to the sort of
he was all the way over down the south of these hills, wasn't he?
Yes,
towards Ambleside.
Yes, but ended up in a similar place. Interestingly, okay. And then from here, how are you going to get home? You've only got 2 hours.
Well, it's a good question. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Okay.
But Ollie had set off before me, and he's a local, and then he head up towards to the left here, towards High. What's it called? Is it Wanstead?
Wansfell.
Wansfell.
I think it's Wansfell.
So I just followed him.
Okay.
I looked at
local knowledge.
I thought that's a logical route to go, so I'll do the same.
Cool.
With the idea being that we'll sort of hop along these valleys from maybe top to top and get back. So here I am walking up. We'll speed it up so you can fast forward, running up the hill. I'm walking.
But this is interesting. So this is a hill climb quite late in the day now.
Yeah, it's very gentle, so it wasn't too bad.
But it's a bold decision because you could have just tried to run home effectively, but instead you're going to fly again, right?
Yeah, so I got here and I was expecting to find Ollie, and he wasn't there. He hadn't flown off, and he had run all the way back from there. So
wow,
I took off.
This is very wise. Yeah, Ollie is super fit, I think, but yeah, I would definitely try and fly it.
So I got a lucky bit there, and
yes,
they managed to get me across the valley.
Okay, cool. So you've saved quite a lot of time just with that hop.
Yeah, and there I landed an extra path. I posied up, and here we are, just walking around the edge to another takeoff point. Here we can just sort of go around, just walking up this path. It was quite a long walk with the glider over my shoulders, to be honest, but it did the job.
Okay, and you're coming up to 3 o'clock. So there's only an hour left, and you've got quite a long way.
I have, but I'm fairly confident I can fly a good proportion of this, so I'm happy.
Okay.
So I managed to take off and see how far I get. And I just managed to, there's some sort of lift there that is keeping me going, which is great. And then coming up to Nab's Scar, there was a howling wind coming around the corner here. So I couldn't get around. So I landed there. And I had probably by the time when I landed, I had 50 minutes left. I thought, well, there's a chance I would have got Nab's Scar, but I landed in the bracken. It was windy, and packing it was really hard.
Yeah.
So it ended up being more of a stuff into the rucksack than anything else. And then by the time I finished that, you can see now I've lost 15 minutes packing up this time.
Yes.
So I went for the strategy. Right, I know I can walk back from here. Let's just do that.
Okay, yeah, because if you get back after 4 o'clock, you're deducted points. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
You get penalized. Yeah. Okay.
So
I think this is the Coffin Trail. This sort of a popular walk from along Ride.
Good knowledge. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a famous tourist. They used to carry dead people along this route. It's the straightest route to walk from Rydal to Grasmere, I think.
There you go.
So a little bit of history. Cool. Okay. And so how long have you? Oh, you're very close for time. 10 minutes.
Yeah, I must admit I did do a little bit of trotting just to make sure I got back on time. But So in the end, here I do. I make it back with 5 minutes to spare.
Fantastic. And that's good too, to use all of your time rather than if you come back an hour early, you've made a mistake. Probably.
Well, if I had come back early, I'd have gone up Nab's Scar and then taken up from there, and I might even be able to fly into another one.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it.
That's a really cool track log, Paul. I think it's awesome. In particular, the thing I love is that you did it on an A rated. Is it a Symphonia? A Symphonia
Yeah,
2?
Symphonia 2. Yeah, which is a great little wing. I was flying an old 20-year-old wing before that, and
Okay.
it's transformational.
Yeah, amazing. And so, can I ask a few questions about that? Is it possible to keep the track log up for us, so in case we need to
Sure.
zoom in to the
Yeah,
odd bit?
sure.
So, looking at that, there are a few things that stand out to me. The first is that the decision to go over the back of Helvellyn and to do that successfully is the first really key point, I think, where it's quite a bold. It's a 3,000-foot mountain. It's a very windy day, and you've made a decision. Is being on a safer wing one of the things that gave you the confidence to fly that line?
I just thought that was a logical place to go at the time. I think, in hindsight, going further north or south in the Milk Run would have been better spots chatting to locals about where they may have gone. But I suppose being on an A wing, it's not meant to give you confidence to take on extra risk, but in flying an A wing, I do have confidence in my flying and what I do, I suppose. And I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous in anything that I partake in. So if it is getting a bit rough, and then at least I know I'm on a wing that should reinflate as quick as possible should any collapses happen.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And that was my next question: was how turbulent did you find that? How did it collapse at all? Did you get any tip collapses?
No, I didn't. I don't think I had any collapses throughout the whole day.
Okay.
Which was great. So it made the right decisions in not flying anywhere that was too risky, if that makes sense.
Yes, and the next sort of key point in the day, I think, is you get this lovely thermal off the front of, is it Placefell?
Placefell, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And that is a I'm sure that must have won you the day, because that climb you did, I think you told me earlier, it's like 10 minutes or something to go up 2,000 feet. Is phenomenal.
It's an absolute bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible, and that proves the point. I think that you have to fly to win. You have to win in the air, right? That it's not really possible to win on the ground. It's the flying.
And you also need a bit of luck. I mean, I could have landed at the foot of it, and then I'd have had to walk up, or at least halfway up, to be able to take off. And it makes the difference, doesn't it? That would save me half an hour, or probably 45 minutes.
Yeah, and so tell me also about. It's a great track log. Because it's a logical circle route, and it takes you out into the big points. So from Grasmere, my thinking is that there are only two. This is probably not quite true, so forgive me if this is a simplification. But basically, to get the score that you did, I think you have to either go over through the Langdales into the Central Fells and try and pick up the big points around Bow Fell and the Gables, for example. Or you have to do what you did and find a way to go over the back and try to get onto the High Street Ridge and to fly that face, which I think you picked up so many Wainwrights in the air.
Which was great.
And you were hundreds of feet above them, and just this lovely long convergence lift that took you all the way down that ridge. So how planned was the? Did you know in your mind all the Wainwrights?
In my mind, I've never flown the Milk Run in the lakes before, and it sounds quite a cool thing to do.
Yes.
So when it was a Wesley, I thought, well, let's fly the Milk Run then. See, and obviously I didn't fly all of it. I walked and took off and walked and took off. But that was my strategy, to go along there. And I thought, well, if I've done that, and then let's see if there's the High Street Ridge at the back with the high pointers. Let's see if we can get over there if I've got time. So obviously I had time, and off I went. Others went over. There was Lucy and Ollie. They went over straight away. They went up over the back without going along in front of Dollywagon, and then they got over to the high scorers and started knocking those points off a bit sooner on foot and in the air.
Okay, that's interesting. So there was a group of you all going east, in fact, allowing the westerly wind to push you back,
Yes.
So all trying that, but you all then had the problem of trying to come home upwind, to have to force your way against the prevailing wind to get back to Grasmere.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just give it a go. I didn't know when it would work or it wasn't, but just speaking to the locals the night before and what they think is a good idea and what might work, might not work. And the concern was, well, if we go over there, how do we get back? And they said, I just come around the bottom side and you might need to touch down a few times, but you should be able to get back. And sure enough, that worked. So there's a lot of luck and giving it a go. And it turned out I had quite a lot of time leaving the Eastern Fells, over 2 hours, so that helped.
Okay, so that's key. So also through the day, having a kind of mental sense of, did you have a certain amount of time? Did you have a kind of thing in your head which was by 2 o'clock I've got to turn around, or was there a deadline for you?
Yeah, I sort of thought that in the valley over in the Eastern, if I landed at any stage, I've then got to be hot footing it on the way back. Be that climbing up. There's a ridge you can climb up here. I can't remember what it's called. And then hope that you can take off from the top and land. And I might have made that back in 2 hours. If you're a fell runner, you could probably do it a lot quicker, so you can push the boundaries a bit further. But it's just giving it a go, I suppose. And if you don't make it back in time, well, it's not the end of the world.
No, that's true. That's true. But you what are the rules again about points? You have a certain amount of time when you can get back after 4 and you're deducted points, but then after a certain time, is it good night Vienna?
Yeah, exactly. So the first hour after the cut-off time, 4 o'clock, every 10 minutes late, you lose 10 points. And then after an hour, I think it's no points. Unlucky. Hard luck.
Okay, right. Super. Right. Well, look. So I was going to say, what would be the advice that you would give to people looking to do this for the first time? Obviously, I'm doing it for the first time, so I'm asking this in a way. But to anybody out there who's thinking of giving this a go and coming to fly with you this June, what would you suggest they think of, or what should they plan for?
I think go with the attitude to enjoy it, because that's the most important thing, and that's why we do it. And there's a great bunch of people there. And then form a general strategy, have lots of different options that if that doesn't work, then you do this, or maybe just follow what other people are doing and go with the flow. If you're a bit nervous about getting back, don't go too far away. You don't have to. And in terms of equipment, a great tip was given to me was use poles. It transforms going up hills.
I mean, hiking poles, like
hiking poles, yeah.
And do you have 2 or 1?
I have 2.
2, okay.
Yeah, I think I have 2, and it just takes, even if you're on the flat, it takes some weight off your legs and puts it into the arms. And if you're hiking at the end of the day, you might want that extra bit of power left in your legs to maybe do a little run if you've got to get in with only 5 minutes to spare.
Yeah. And what did you it's a bit of a personal question, what did you eat through the day? Did you have just a massive breakfast and then eat nothing, or did you carry food with you? Or
I ate a big old porridge in the morning. Then it's very simple after that. Just a sandwich for lunch. And I put some energy bars in the pack, and just had 1 or 2 of those a day went on. But I mean, as you can see, I didn't actually do a lot of hiking on that route, so I was fine energy-wise. But I've done the Xdales, and I've had a big hiking days there, and you need a few more energy bars to get around that. And I did the Xlakes last year, and I had more hiking then. And yeah, it just depends on the day. If you can get in the air, and it's a bonus because you're not only moving quicker, you've got the chance of that thermal, and you are giving your legs a rest as well, which if you can do that during the day, bonus.
Yeah, super. Right. Well, look, thank you for talking to us about your track log, and a really impressive bit of flying, especially because you won so much of it in the air, rather than just being an ultra runner or something impossible that no one else can follow. To see you just do it with piloting skill and on a really safe glider. I think
very flat in the heat.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. It gives us all hope.
That lift that just kept me going without realizing fully that was in a sea breeze. And yeah, it's if you're in there, as you say, you can get the chance of a bit of luck to keep you up and keep you going, and you never know what happens next.
Cool. Right. So the advert is if you want to come and fly with Paul and lots of us, then the Xlakes and the Lakes Charity Classic this year is being held from the 18th to the 22nd of June. I'll put links in the description of how you can sign up for different types of tickets and that sort of thing. But it's a really fun event, and it's cheerful, and hopefully this track log has given you a sense of the type of flying that you can get up to if you're as talented as Paul Rowntree. So thanks very much, Paul. I really appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Cheers, Paul.
Cheers.